Clothes are more accessible and affordable now than ever before, and we spend billions each year chasing the latest trends.
Fashions change every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks. You need something new, otherwise you're going to be behind the times.
The fashion industry is now labelled as one of the worst polluters in the world. But who is responsible, and who should pick up the cost of the impact on our environment?
The people who are deciding how long that garment stays in for use for is actually the consumers.
With the amount of resources it takes to create just one piece of clothing, is it now time to think twice about how much we take to the till and how often we check out?
Fast fashion is going to be the next big wow wake-up call. We really need to do something about this.
Fashion is big business in the UK, with the industry playing a huge part in the country's economy.
Many of us are no stranger to a bit of retail therapy, whether that be hitting the high street or shopping online. And while there's many factors that influence what we spend our money on, there's usually one particular thing that drives our shopping habits.
I'd mainly look for price because I don't like to overpay for my stuff. So if it looks good, I'll just buy it.
I think if you're looking for just something that's on trend and it's probably going to go out of trend quickly, then low price.
I go to Primark sometimes if I want something but it's it won't last, because I know Primark's quality and I don't expect a lot of it because it doesn't cost very much. So yeah, I think it's good for trendy stuff where you're going to wear it once.
There are hundreds of shops just in one shopping centre that cater for all kinds of budgets. And it's no wonder that we choose to buy cheaper things more regularly than splashing out on big ticket items. But do we actually know what goes into the mass production of pieces of clothing like the ones that I'm wearing now?
In the UK alone, we buy 1,130,000 tonnes of clothing in a year. The carbon footprint of that is 26,200,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent. To make just 1 kilogram of cotton, it takes up to 20,000 litres of water. And although we continue to buy new clothes, on average, nearly a third of our wardrobes don't get touched for over a year. Our rise in spending, particularly on low-cost items, is increasingly being recognised as fast fashion, a growing trend which is contributing to our environmental footprint.
Fast fashion is a fairly recent phenomenon that has been around for maybe 15 years. And it's this idea that the rate of change that we see in terms of fashion and the rate of change that we see with consumers in terms of what they buy and what they dispose of is increasing. So we've got a much higher throughput of materials and products. So consumers are engaging with certain fashion items, wearing them for a much shorter period than they would have done before, and then moving on to the next sort of trend or fashion.
I'm going to be making a denim pinafore made out of 3 old pairs of jeans. So this used to be the back leg and around the side.
Last year, Hattie started an online business with her husband Ben that focuses on sustainability. They get commissioned to rework pieces of clothing from scrap fabric which they put together at their home in Leeds.
I tend to work with clothes that have holes in or are damaged, stained or stuff. Other stuff, just take it to the charity shop. If it can be worn again or someone else will wear it and like it, then a charity shop will sell that and that'll be great. But clothing that can't be taken to the charity shop, I love to work with because otherwise it would just go in the bin. All the waste gets used as well, and then we'll sew that up and then it'll go, have photos taken, then it'll go on our website. Generally people have come to us because they want to buy slow fashion, but it's also made people realise the difference, whether it's the quality or how much money actually goes into making an item of clothing, particularly on a small scale.
On a larger scale, Glass Onion Vintage supplies clothing to online retailers, high street chains and vintage kilo sales like these. These events allow customers to buy used garments which are priced per kilo. But before they're ready for purchase, the clothes go through Glass Onion Vintage's warehouse in Barnsley, where they are sorted or reworked, ready to be washed and loaded. The factory saves over 10,000 pieces of clothing from landfill each month by giving them a new life.
It all starts with clothes being unwanted or damaged and then donated in charity bins. So you might have seen these type of bins at your local supermarket, things like that. And because these charities get thousands and thousands of tons of clothes donated, they can't possibly sort through everything. They don't have the resources. So they then sell a proportion of that to clothing recycling companies. So these are our suppliers and our partners that we work with. Anything that we've got here can be reworked into something. For instance, if it was a t-shirt that had holes all over it, there's still fabric there that can be used for a scrunchie or a wash bag. We're really trying to work towards a zero waste for our clothes, so nothing ends up going in the bin. Something can always be reinvented into something new and loved again by another person. And so I think people like us allow clothes to have a second life, whether it's through rework or whether it's just to sell it straight on to businesses that can then sell it to consumers again.
Now, MPs want to impose a 1p clothing tax on big clothing manufacturers in a bid to end the era of throwaway fashion. The Environmental Audit Committee published a report calling out retailers like Amazon, TK Maxx, Debenhams and Sports Direct for failing to sign up to the Sustainable Clothing Action Plan, which aims to reduce the amount of carbon, water and waste in the clothing industry.
How can you justify selling, t-shirts in your stores for as little as £2 or £3?
Although Primark has signed up to the plan, Mary Craig MP, chair of the committee, questioned the retailer's ethical trade and environmental sustainability team about its practices.
Primark has never done any significant advertising at all, and that can save us in any year, 150 million pounds compared to some of our larger rivals. That goes straight into price, so that keeps our pricing low.
She thinks that retailers should take more responsibility.
If you're a polluter, you should pay for the cost of clean-up. So in this case, the fashion industry are the polluters. They don't sell themselves as polluters. They sell dreams, fun, fabrics, frivolity, allure. But actually they sell it on a linear model. So it's a make, use, sometimes very short use, dispose model. And we're saying we need to get it on that circular model. So they should pay a penny per garment. That would raise over £30 million a year. And we would be able to collect some of the 1 million tonnes of clothing that the UK throws out every year. We're pretty good, better than other countries at giving them to friends and family and to charity shops. But there's 300,000 tonnes of clothing that are going to landfill or incineration every year. We think that's insane and we want it to stop.
That 1p tax doesn't take into account that those brands are doing some good things. So for me, a more nuanced and a more progressive approach would be to say, let's have a 5p tax on those brands and retailers who have demonstrated no action or no activity, and a 0 rated tax for those brands that are actually doing some good stuff. Now, there's got to be a middle ground. There are some brands that are sort of playing at this and maybe not doing as much as they could be doing. So you might have a 2.5p tax somewhere in the middle. But I think it's important to recognise that we need to provide incentives for industry to make change, but at the same time also recognising that consumers themselves have to do something.
Despite experts disagreeing with how we should tackle the issue of fast fashion, it is clear that it is not solely the responsibility of retailers. We are continuing to buy new clothes and throwing them away at an unprecedented rate.
It's really important that there's some kind of outlet for clothes to go through, otherwise they just end up in the ground or being incinerated.
And it seems that a shift in culture within brands and consumers is needed to alter our shopping habits.
We can't keep going on living the way that we are living at the moment.
Because although cheap new clothing may not easily empty our pockets, it may just slowly cost us our planet.